a quiet apartment building in Milwaukee, number 213. Behind that door, something terrible was happening. Something so evil that when police finally opened it, they found a human head in the refrigerator. Fresh. Eyes still open. Next to bottles of ketchup and mustard. Like it was just another meal waiting to be cooked. 17 young men. 13 years. One killer who looked so normal that nobody suspected him. He worked a regular job. He smiled at neighbors. He paid his rent on time. But inside his apartment, he was living a nightmare that most people cannot even imagine. This is not just another crime story. This is about how a young boy from a good neighborhood slowly became one of the most dangerous killers in American history. How did nobody see the warning signs? How did he fool everyone around him? And the scariest question of all, was he born this way? Or did something make him into a monster? The story you are about to hear is true. Every detail is real. And it happened not in some faraway place, but in regular America. In a city where people thought they were safe, where families lived normal lives, where nobody expected that their son, their brother, or their friend might never come home again. What makes this case even more disturbing is not just what he did to his victims. It is how he kept them, how he wanted them to stay with him forever. And the methods he used are so shocking that even experienced police officers had nightmares for years after seeing his apartment. But before we go into those dark details, we need to understand something important. This killer did not start by murdering people. He started as a lonely child who collected bones of dead animals. He started as a confused teenager who drank alcohol to stop his scary thoughts. He started as someone who just wanted love and connection, but in the most twisted way possible. By the time police caught him, he had perfected his routine. He knew exactly how to pick his victims. He knew how to make them trust him. He knew how to avoid getting caught. And for years, he succeeded. Even when police came to his door, even when neighbors complained about terrible smells, even when someone escaped and ran to the police, he still managed to continue. The question that haunted everyone after his arrest was simple but terrifying. If this normal-looking man could hide such evil, how many others are out there? How do we know who to trust? And most importantly, how did nobody stop him sooner? The answers will shock you. Because this is not just a story about one killer. This is a story about missed chances, about warning signs that were ignored, about a system that failed, about people who could have stopped him but did not, and about how evil can hide behind a friendly smile. Jeffrey Dahmer grew up in Bath, Ohio, a small town, a quiet place, middle-class families, good schools. Everything seemed perfect from outside. His father was a chemist with a PhD. Smart man, worked hard. His mother struggled with depression and mental health problems. She slept a lot. She was not very involved with her children. Young Jeffrey felt alone even though his parents were there. The house looked normal from outside. White picket fence, green lawn, typical American family. But inside, there was silence. Cold silence. His mother stayed in her room most days. His father buried himself in work. Jeffrey learned early that nobody was really paying attention to him. And in that loneliness, something dark began to grow. As a child, Jeffrey was different. While other kids played with toys, he was interested in something else. Dead animals. When he was just 7 or 8 years old, he found a dead squirrel. But instead of being scared or sad, he was curious. He took it apart. He wanted to see the bones. He wanted to understand what was inside. His father thought it was just childhood curiosity. Maybe the boy wants to be a scientist. Maybe he is just interested in biology. But it was more than that. Jeffrey started looking for dead animals everywhere. Roadkill on the streets. Dead dogs, dead cats, dead raccoons. He would bring them home, cut them open, look at their insides, remove their bones, keep them in jars. He had a special place in the woods behind his house, a secret spot where he would go alone. There he kept his collection. Bones arranged in patterns, skulls lined up on logs, dead insects pinned to boards. It was his private museum of death, and he spent hours there, away from everyone, lost in his own dark world. Nobody realized this was not normal curiosity. This was the beginning of something very dark. Because Jeffrey was not just interested in bones, he was becoming attracted to death itself. The smell, the process of decay, the feeling of control over something that could not fight back. When Jeffrey became a teenager, everything became more complicated. He realized he was attracted to boys, but this was the 1970s in small-town America. Being gay was not accepted. He felt ashamed. He felt confused. He could not talk to anyone about his feelings. So he started drinking alcohol. A lot of alcohol, even before school. By age 14, he was drinking every single day. He would hide bottles in his school locker, in his backpack, under his bed. His teachers noticed something was wrong. He would fall asleep in class. His grades dropped. But nobody did anything serious about it. They thought he was just a troubled teenager going through a phase. His classmates remember him as weird. He would show up drunk. He would do strange things to get attention. Once, his friends paid him money to have fake seizures in public. He wanted attention, but also wanted to hide. He felt invisible. He felt like nobody cared about him. But inside his mind, something very dangerous was developing. Jeffrey was not just attracted to boys. He was attracted to the idea of having complete control over them. He did not want a relationship where the other person could say no. He did not want someone who could leave him. He wanted someone who would stay forever, even if that meant they had to be dead. He started having fantasies, dark fantasies. He would see attractive men jogging in his neighborhood, and he would imagine knocking them unconscious, dragging them somewhere private, having complete power over their bodies. These thoughts scared him at first, but slowly, they became normal to him. They became what he wanted most. There was one jogger in particular, a man who ran past his house every morning. Jeffrey decided he would make his fantasy real. He took a baseball bat and hid in the bushes along the jogging path. He waited. His heart was racing. This was it. His first real attempt to hurt someone. But that day, the jogger never came. Jeffrey waited for hours. Finally, he went home. He was disappointed, but also relieved. Part of him still knew this was wrong. His first victim was Stephen Hicks, a young man hitchhiking to a concert. It was 1978. Jeffrey was 18 years old. His parents were getting divorced. His mother had left. His father was gone. Jeffrey was alone in the house with his dark thoughts. When he saw Stephen on the road, he thought this was his chance. He picked him up, brought him home. They drank alcohol together. Everything seemed friendly. But when Stephen wanted to leave, Jeffrey could not accept it. He did not want to be alone again. So he grabbed a barbell and hit Stephen on the head, again and again, until he stopped moving. Jeffrey looked at the body. He had killed someone. But instead of fear or guilt, he felt something else. Relief. Because now Stephen could not leave him. Now he had complete control. He cut up the body, put the pieces in garbage bags, loaded them in his car. But then police stopped him for a traffic violation. The police officer looked in the car with his flashlight. He saw the bags. He asked what was inside. Jeffrey said it was just trash going to the dump. The officer believed him, gave him a ticket, and left. If that officer had opened those bags, 17 lives could have been saved. But he did not know. Nobody knew. Jeffrey buried the remains in the forest. He smashed the bones with a hammer and scattered them everywhere. Then he waited. He read newspapers every day. Was anyone looking for Stephen? Did anyone know? But there was nothing. He realized he got away with murder. And that changed everything. For 9 years, Jeffrey did not kill again. He tried to live a normal life. He joined the army but got kicked out for drinking. He tried college but failed. Nothing worked. Finally, he moved to Milwaukee to live with his grandmother. He tried to be religious. He went to church. He read the Bible. He thought maybe religion would save him from his dark thoughts. But it did not work. His urges came back stronger. He started going to gay bathhouses. He would drug men and have sex with them while they were unconscious. But that was not enough. He wanted more. He needed to kill again. The bathhouses banned him when word spread about his behavior. Men started warning each other about the guy who drugged people. So Jeffrey had to find new hunting grounds. He started going to regular gay bars, clubs where young men gathered. He learned how to blend in, how to seem charming, how to make people trust him. He developed a system. He would sit quietly at the bar, watch people, study them, look for someone who seemed lonely, someone who needed money, someone who would not be missed right away. Then he would approach with his offer. $50, sometimes $100. Just come to my apartment and let me take photos. Easy money. Most people said no, but some said yes. And those were the ones who never went home. In 1987, he killed his second victim at a hotel. This time, he does not remember doing it because he was drunk. When he woke up, there was a dead body next to him. He put it in a suitcase. A hotel worker helped him carry it down. The taxi driver helped him load it in the cab. The driver joked, "What do you have in here, a body?" Jeffrey said yes. They both laughed. Nobody suspected the truth. After that, Jeffrey could not stop. He moved into his own apartment. Number 213 at Oxford Apartments. This became his killing place, his private hell. He would go to gay bars and meet young men. He would offer them money to come to his apartment for photos. They thought it was easy money. They had no idea what waited for them. His method was always the same. Get them to his apartment. Give them a drink with drugs mixed in. Wait for them to fall unconscious. Then kill them, usually by strangling them. After they were dead, he would have sex with the bodies, then cut them into pieces, keep the parts he liked, throw away the rest. But Jeffrey was not satisfied with just killing. He wanted more. He started taking photographs. Dozens of photographs. He would pose the bodies in different positions, document every stage of the process. These photos were not just memories, they were tools. He would look at them later and remember, relive the experience, feel that sense of power again. He kept a filing system, photos organized by victim, notes about what he did, what worked, what did not work. He was treating murder like a science experiment, always trying to improve his technique, always looking for ways to make the experience last longer. But Jeffrey wanted to try something new. He wanted to create a zombie. A person who was alive but had no will of their own. Someone who would never want to leave. So he started drilling holes in his victims' heads while they were unconscious. Then he would pour acid inside to destroy part of their brain. He thought this would make them obedient. It did not work. They always died. He tried different acids, different locations in the skull, different amounts. He was determined to make it work, because in his mind, this was the perfect solution. A living person who would stay with him forever, who would never reject him, who would be completely under his control. But human bodies are not toys. Every attempt failed. Every person died. One victim was 14 years old, a boy named Konorak. Jeffrey drugged him and drilled his head. But then Jeffrey left to buy more beer. Konorak woke up confused and escaped. He was found on the street by two women who called police. When police arrived, Jeffrey came out. He was calm, polite. He told police that Konorak was his adult boyfriend who got drunk. The police believed him. They even helped Jeffrey take the boy back to the apartment. Inside that apartment were dead bodies and photos of corpses. But police never looked. They just left. 30 minutes later, Jeffrey killed Konorak. This was not the only time police could have stopped him. Neighbors complained many times about terrible smells coming from his apartment. The building manager called him. Jeffrey would say his freezer broke or his fish tank was dirty. Nobody investigated further. The smell was unbearable. People in the hallway would cover their noses. Some neighbors thought maybe an animal died in the walls. Others thought it was a plumbing problem. But nobody thought it could be dead human bodies. Because who would think that? Who would imagine such horror in a regular apartment building? Inside his apartment was a house of horrors. In the freezer were body parts wrapped in plastic. Hearts, muscles, thighs. In the refrigerator were heads. In the bedroom were photos of bodies in different positions. In the closet were barrels with acid and more body parts. Everywhere was evidence, but nobody looked. Jeffrey even started eating his victims. He would cook their flesh on his stove with onions and mushrooms. He thought if he ate them, they would become part of him forever. They would never truly leave. This was his twisted idea of love and connection. He said eating them made him feel closer to them, made him feel like they were still with him. He would prepare the meat carefully, season it, cook it properly, then sit at his table and eat slowly, thinking about the person, remembering their face, their voice. In his sick mind, this was intimacy. The smell in the building got worse and worse. Neighbors could not stand it anymore. But Jeffrey always had an excuse. And people believed him because he seemed so normal. He went to work every day at a chocolate factory. He was quiet and polite. Nobody suspected that after work he would go home and sleep next to dead bodies. His coworkers said he was boring, kept to himself, always arrived on time, did his job without complaining. During lunch breaks, he would sit alone, read books, seem completely normal. They had no idea that this quiet man had body parts in his refrigerator at home. Finally, on July 22nd, 1991, everything ended. His name was Tracy Edwards. Jeffrey brought him to the apartment and handcuffed him. But Tracy fought back. He punched Jeffrey and ran out of the apartment with handcuffs still on one wrist. He flagged down a police car on the street. This time, police did not believe Jeffrey's excuses. They searched the apartment. What they found was worse than anything they had imagined. The head in the refrigerator, the photographs, the body parts, the skulls, the evidence of 17 murders. One officer opened the refrigerator looking for the handcuff key. Instead, he found a human head staring back at him. He screamed, ran outside, vomited. Other officers went in. They found more and more horror. Photographs of dead bodies, skulls painted and displayed like trophies, a barrel full of acid with 3 torsos dissolving inside, body parts everywhere. Jeffrey did not try to run or fight. He just sat down calmly. When police asked him questions, he answered everything. He confessed to killing 17 people. He explained how he did it, where he found them, what he did to their bodies, why he ate them. He showed no emotion. He spoke like he was describing a normal day at work. The police officers could not believe what they were hearing. How could this normal-looking man talk about such horrible things so calmly? One officer later said it was like Jeffrey was giving a cooking recipe, step by step. No emotion, no regret, just facts. The city of Milwaukee was in shock. A serial killer had been operating for years, right under everyone's noses, in a regular apartment building. How did this happen? How did nobody know? The trial began. Everyone wanted to know. Was Jeffrey Dahmer insane? Because if he was crazy, he could go to a mental hospital. Maybe one day get out. But if he was sane, he would go to prison forever. The defense said he must be insane. Who else would kill and eat people? But the prosecution had a different argument. Jeffrey knew what he was doing was wrong. He hid the evidence. He lied to police. He planned everything carefully. That is not insanity. That is evil. Psychiatrists examined him for weeks. They asked thousands of questions. They tried to understand his mind. And what they found was disturbing. Jeffrey was completely aware of his actions. He knew murder was wrong. He knew eating people was wrong. He just did not care. His desires were more important to him than other people's lives. The jury agreed. They found him sane, guilty on all counts. He was sentenced to 15 life terms, over 900 years in prison. He would never be free. In prison, Jeffrey found religion again. He was baptized. He read the Bible. He said he was sorry for what he did. Some people believed him. Others thought it was just another act, another way to manipulate people. He gave interviews from prison. He talked about his crimes without emotion. He said he wished someone had stopped him sooner. He said he deserved to die for what he did. Was this real regret? Or just more manipulation? Nobody could be sure. On November 28, 1994, Jeffrey Dahmer was killed in prison. Another inmate beat him to death with a metal bar. The same type of weapon Jeffrey used on his first victim. Some people said it was justice. Others said nobody deserves to die like that. But everyone agreed on one thing. The world was safer without him. After his death, doctors examined his brain. His mother wanted to know if there was something physically wrong that made him kill, but they found nothing. His brain was completely normal, which means the most terrifying truth of all. Jeffrey Dahmer chose to be evil. He was not forced by disease or brain damage. He simply decided that his desires were more important than other people's lives. This story teaches us to stay alert and aware. Evil does not always look like a monster. Share this story to spread awareness about crime and dangerous behavior in our society. Subscribe to our channel for more true crime stories. Always be attentive because we never know when evil can strike. Together we can create a safer world.